I'm VJ Hamilton and welcome to the Autoimmune Reset, the place for you to learn how to thrive with autoimmune disease and feel empowered to take steps to transform your health to feel better than ever. You can start making changes today to improve your health. So with every episode, my mission is to share with you simple ways to up-level your diet and lifestyle with key learnings from my own journey reversing autoimmune disease and inspirational stories from those who have reset their autoimmune symptoms and are now thriving in life. I suffered from autoimmune disease for over 25 years and now I live symptom-free, and I wish the same for you as well. So thank you for being here and sharing this time with me. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's Friday 5 episode of the Autoimmune RESET Podcast. I'm your host VJ Hamilton. I'm a nutritionist, scientist and expert in autoimmune disease. And this week's Friday 5 is all about 5 simple but powerful ways to reset as we move into spring. And I think this is such an important conversation because spring is not just a change in season, it's actually a biological shift, and your body is not static throughout the year. It's constantly responding to light, temperature, food availability, and even those subtle environmental cues. And what is fascinating and often overlooked is that your immune system, your metabolism, your hormones, and even your microbiome all change with the seasons as well. And that's why the seasons are here and why it's so important to be conscious of them as we move through them. So if you have felt slightly heavier or more sluggish, more inflamed, or just not quite yourself over winter, which I know can happen, that is not a personal failure. It is, to a degree, a normal physiological response to that season. But spring gives us opportunity. It's a window where the body is naturally more receptive to change. I love it when you start waking up and you can hear the birds singing and it's lighter and you just feel better as a result. Your circadian rhythm starts to recalibrate, your cortisol patterns shift, serotonin begins to rise with that increased light exposure, and even gut microbial diversity can start to expand with seasonal food. So rather than forcing a reset, we can actually work with what the body is already trying to do. And that is what I want to focus on today. Not something extreme, not restrictive or anything that feels overwhelming, but 5 ways to gently bring your body back into alignment with spring. So the first is to reset your light exposure and circadian rhythm. That's so vital at this time of year. This is probably one of the most underrated drivers of health. We often think about food first. I know I did, but your body's master regulator is actually light, and morning light in particular sets your circadian rhythm for the entire day. It influences cortisol, melatonin, blood sugar regulation, appetite, energy, and even immune signaling. And one of the tips that I will often give to my clients is to just go outside with a cup of tea in that morning light. I've started going out and taking my dogs for a walk in the morning, which is really helping to get that light exposure. I like to go to Pilates class in the morning, but I've weaved in a walk as well, just so I'm getting outside and properly exposing myself to the light. And this is where it starts becoming more cutting edge, is that light exposure also affects your mitochondrial function. So your energy production at the cellular level is influenced by whether or not you're getting natural light. A really simple reset here is within 30 minutes of waking, get outside for 5 to 10 minutes, ideally without sunglasses, just allowing natural light into your eyes. As I said, just going out for a walk, going outside with a cup of tea. You do not need perfect sunshine. Even a grey morning that we get a lot of in the UK is enough to send the right signals to your brain. And what I often see clinically is that when people start here, sleep improves, energy stabilizes, and even cravings begin to shift without them changing anything else. So it's just this one thing. And that is the kind of leverage point we're looking for when it comes to our health. The second is to reset your blood sugar rhythms, not just your diet. Most people think blood sugar is about what you eat, but it's also about when and how you eat. After winter, it's common for blood sugar to become more dysregulated. We've probably had less movement, eaten heavier foods because of holidays and because of the weather. There's probably more disrupted routines, and all this can create more variability in glucose and insulin. And this is where symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, cravings, irritability, and even inflammation can start to creep in. And one of the simplest most effective resets is to anchor your day with a protein-rich first meal. Not necessarily because protein is trendy right now, but because it stabilizes blood sugar. It's going to support your neurotransmitters, which help with how you feel and how you respond to stress, and reduces that mid-morning crash that so many people experience. And a practical way to approach this is to aim for at least 25 to 30 grams of protein at your first meal. For example, today I had some boiled eggs, I had a bit of gluten-free toast with tahini, and then I had a protein-rich smoothie with some frozen blueberries, frozen raspberries, some pea protein, some collagen, some chia seeds, and a bit of coconut kefir and water. And I've had that today. So I've definitely met that 25 to 30 grams of protein this morning. But it could be eggs with smoked salmon. You could pair that with a protein smoothie, or even some leftovers from dinner and then adding some eggs to that. Something I often explain to clients, which can be quite an aha moment for them, is that stable blood sugar is not just about energy. It's deeply connected to inflammation and immune regulation. So if you are someone dealing with autoimmune symptoms, skin issues, or even hair loss, this becomes even more relevant. The third is to reset your gut through diversity, not restriction. This is where I think the conversation around gut health is evolving. For a long time, the focus has been on removing gluten, removing dairy, removing this, removing that. And while that can be helpful in certain contexts, what we now understand is that microbial diversity is one of the strongest predictors of health. Diversity comes from variety, different fibers, different polyphenols, different plant compounds. These are what feed those different strains of bacteria in the gut, and it's the balance that actually counts. And spring is really a beautiful time to do this naturally, because we start to see more fresh foods coming in. We start to see more colour around us, those leafy greens, herbs, berries, seasonal vegetables. A simple reset here is aim for 20 to 30 different plant foods across the week. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you start thinking about the different colours with your meals, like 3 different colours on every plate of food, and that's going to include herbs, spices, nuts, seeds, vegetables, fruits, any plant foods. And what often surprises people is how quickly this can shift digestion. It can help with bloating and even mood, because your gut is not just digesting food. It also produces those neurotransmitters, it regulates inflammation, and is communicating directly with your brain on a daily basis. The fourth is to reset your nervous system, not just your schedule. And this is a big one, especially if you resonate with feeling like you are doing everything right, but still not feeling how you want to feel. And I was there myself when I look back to when I was living with chronic fatigue and anxiety and hair loss and skin issues. And your nervous system determines whether your body is in a state of repair or defense. And you cannot out-supplement a body that feels unsafe. Spring is often a time where people try to do more, like start a strenuous exercise regime. They might start socializing more because it's lighter on a night, or just wanting to be more productive because you are feeling better. And what I would invite you to consider is, are you creating enough moments of safety in your day? And this might be as simple as slowing your breathing for a few minutes, getting outside without any stimulation, not having your phone, just going for a walk, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, eating without distractions. Rather than taking your lunch to your desk and continuing with your work, can you just take it away from your desk and just eat? And eat mindfully just for 5-10 minutes. I mean, more if you can, but even 5-10 minutes will make a big difference. Or even just pausing between tasks, not just going from one thing to the next thing. And something more advanced here, which is being explored more in research, is something I speak about a lot, and that is the vagus nerve. Increasing vagal tone is really vital to how safe your body feels. And whether that is through breath work, humming, cold exposure, or devices that stimulate the vagus nerve, we're starting to understand just how powerful this pathway is for reducing inflammation and supporting immune balance. So rather than thinking, I need to do more, it becomes, how can I create more regulation? And the fifth is to reset your internal narrative around your health. And this is one of the most important ones, because this underpins everything. So when people approach their health from a place of urgency, frustration, or even fear, they feel like something is wrong, something needs fixing, and they need to do it quickly. And there is that frustration that builds and builds. But what I see time and time again is that mindset actually keeps the body in a more stressed, reactive state. I know somebody close to me is really focusing on an outcome at the moment, and I'm trying to get them back to just be thinking about what can you do day to day. Stop thinking about the outcome. Start to become more aligned to that outcome, but don't focus on it too much, because that can just create such stress in the body. And a reset can be a moment to shift that, to move from I need to fix this to I'm learning how to support my body better, or from I have failed. I hear that a lot. I've failed because I have not been consistent, to I'm building consistency now, focusing on the positives. And this might sound subtle, but it changes how you approach everything. And often that is where the most sustainable progress comes from. And this is exactly why throughout April, inside the Autoimmune Forum, I'm going to be running a spring reset. Each day I will be sharing a simple, practical tip that you can implement. Not overwhelming protocols, but small shifts that compound over time, because information is helpful, but application is what creates change. And having that daily guidance, that structure, and that sense of momentum can make such a difference. It takes this from being something you listen to and think, well, yeah, that sounds good. You're listening to the podcast regularly. It's something that you would like to do, to something you're actually living. So if you are at a point where you feel ready to reset, to realign, and to support your body in a more intentional way, I'd love to have you there, because spring is not about becoming a completely different person. It's about coming back to what your body has likely been asking for a long time. And often it is the simple shifts done consistently that create the most profound changes. I hope this has given you not just ideas, but a slightly different way of thinking about your health as we move into the new season. And I hope to see you all over in the Autoimmune Forum as we start the spring reset as well on the 1st of April. If you have any questions, feel free to go over to my Instagram account at the Autoimmunity Nutritionist. You can send me a direct message over there. If not, have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Autoimmune Reset. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you liked it, I would hugely appreciate a review on iTunes, as it helps me understand what you like about the podcast and to help share the information with more people. I'm excited to speak to you next time. And remember, you have the power to take the reins on your health. So keep the faith and celebrate the small wins. Until next time.